Good evening and thank you for joining us. Fire-threatened First Nations north of Red Lake have finally received some much-needed rain. That good news, however, has been tempered as word emerged over the weekend that a contract firefighter working in the Fort Frances area has died due to a medical emergency. Ryan Bonazzo has details.
An investigation has been launched into the death of a contract firefighter who was working in the Fort Frances area. Fire Information Officer Chris Marchand says the firefighter died on Thursday following a medical issue.
He was a former NDMNRF wildland firefighter, as well as a friend and respected colleague of many in our fire program. And the wildland firefighter community across the country is mourning the loss of one of their own this week.
The person's identity hasn't been released. Marchand says the MNRF is working with the OPP, the coroner's office, and the contractor as they try to determine what happened. There is some good news on the fire suppression front. About 25 millimeters of rain recently fell on the communities of Poplar Hill and Deer Lake, two First Nations that were forced to evacuate last week.
It'll take a lot more rain than this to meaningfully change the situation, but at very least it will should offer a short-term reprieve from the high fire behavior conditions that we've been seeing.
Fire is now burning just 7 kilometers northwest of Poplar Hill. Deer Lake and Red Lake also continue to be threatened by flames. As of noon on Monday, there were 104 fires burning across the northwest, and smoke has blanketed much of the region. The province has now suspended industrial activities that have the potential to spark new fires, like blasting for road work, welding, and the use of power equipment to harvest wood. Here in Thunder Bay, Mayor Bill Morrow has scheduled a meeting on Tuesday afternoon with neighboring municipal leaders and the MNRF to discuss preparations should the fires move closer to this area.
We realize how dire the situation is in Northern Ontario. For all we know, that could occur on our borders. What do we do if that happens? Do we have the resources that we need? Are we ready to go?
Ryan Bonazzo, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay District now officially has 0 active cases of COVID-19. That distinction comes after several straight days of no new cases. It is the first time since November 5th that the district has been without a confirmed case of the virus. Meanwhile, the regional hospital's COVID unit is being closed due to a lack of cases, and the vaccination clinic at Lakehead University is also slated to close at the end of this week. The Bora Alaskan building has seen a decrease in numbers as of late, and combined with a slowing pace at the CLE clinic run by the health unit, it makes sense to only run one visitor center. With a large number of people yet to receive their second dose, officials still encourage the public to visit the CLE grounds, including those who are unvaccinated. Adrienne Shipham is the Thunder Bay Regional's Vaccination Task Force lead. She says they also have a responsibility to use every dose in a vial, which is becoming a challenge.
The Pfizer vaccine is really tough to manage. Once you open a vial and reconstitute it, it's only good for 6 hours. So with unpredictable numbers coming into the clinic every day, we really are finding it challenging to get rid of all the doses every day. And in order to reduce waste, it makes sense to kind of funnel all the clients to one clinic.
Friday is the last day the university site will be open. Shipham says this will also free up a number of hospital staff to return to their regular duties next week. With just 46 days left before students are expected back for the fall semester, Lakehead University has announced their requirements for both in-person learning and for living in student residence. While it will not be mandatory for students to be vaccinated in order to attend classes, Lakehead will require students living in residence to have received at least one COVID-19 vaccination, with plans to receive a second dose. With both vaccinated and unvaccinated students on campus, Director of Resident Services Shannon Foster says the university is taking every measure to ensure the health of their student body.
We're doing proper spacing, we're doing capacity limits in certain areas throughout campus, and of course wearing masks is something that's mandated right now in public spaces. For us here in residence, what we try to do is we try to do as much of our programming outside as much as possible. Our check-in will be outside. We try to do as many things outside as we can in order to help protect our students.
As for Confederation College, they plan to make a formal announcement on their vaccination requirements later on this week. Meanwhile, Ontario post-secondary schools are being told to prepare for a normal fall with no capacity limits or physical distancing rules on campus. However, the Ministry of Colleges and Universities says schools need to have a backup plan to keep their classes running in the event of an outbreak. Colin DeMello has more.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, college and university campuses in Ontario have been shuttered for in-person learning, creating a challenging learning environment for thousands of young students.
It is challenging, for students in that age range when you don't have any connection to your peers, you don't get to meet the students that are in class with you, you can't easily connect face-to-face with people. So we're hoping that we can start to produce a more normalized environment for our students and our faculty.
A version of normal will return to post-secondary institutions this September. The provincial government says classes can resume in the fall with no physical distancing and no capacity limits. The only thing students will require is a mask when they're indoors. It is welcome news to those preparing for post-secondary.
Honestly, I'm really excited to go back to school. I think it's been a really long time since we actually been back in school.
Especially when you're interacting with the professor or the teacher, or you can even ask questions. You have your friends there, right? So it's more of an energetic environment.
The government hasn't said whether vaccinations will be required, leaving it up to individual institutions to set their own policies. At Seneca College, students and faculty are required to be vaccinated to attend a class in person, while Ryerson and U of T require vaccinations for students living on campus. But many, however, will still return with a hybrid model.
We'll still be running some classes for this semester online because they were set up that way and they can run perfectly fine online. And then some classes where students really do need to be in class, need that experience, need to be in labs or in simulations or things like that, we'll bring those students back.
Colleges and universities are also being told to prepare for the worst-case scenario and to inform students of the pandemic plan in case another wave of COVID-19 takes hold.
A serious collision to report today on Highway 1117 in Chappaqua involving a pickup truck and a transport that ended up crashed into a river. The accident occurred right around the lunch hour, leaving debris scattered along the side of the highway and both vehicles totaled. OPP officers on scene weren't able to speak on camera as the investigation into the cause continues, but the transport truck went through the steel barricades and slid down into the river. The driver had to be airlifted to hospital with serious injuries. As for the pickup truck, the back end was completely destroyed, but fortunately the driver and passenger managed to escape unharmed. Cross Canada Traffic was able to move through the crash scene with only minimal delays this afternoon. There is no word yet on when the transport will be pulled out of the ravine. More work could be heading to the local Alstom railcar plant, and a new contract can't come soon enough. On Friday, the plant celebrated the completion of its latest bi-level car order for Metrolinx, and there's at least one more bi-level order in the works. But as the local Unifor president tells us, they will need more work to maintain their staffing levels and return to where they want to be. Corey Nordstrom explains.
A Friday ceremony saw Alstom plant manager Lindsay Fenton joined virtually and in person by senior members of the company as the last bi-level of their 36-car order for Metrolinx is now out the door. As Unifor 1075 President Dominic Pasqualino, whose union represents a majority of Alstom workers, tells us the plant isn't done pumping out bi-levels for now.
We were able to pick up some bi-level cars for the west coast of the U.S., which is actually quite amazing because of the Buy America plan. They could not do that with federal funds, so they had to do it with state funds. And our car was so reliable, the price was so good that the state decided to go it alone.
It's unclear how long that contract for the 3 American cities will keep workers busy and how many are working on the project.
They laid off the people earlier in May, and I was hearing that maybe in the fall they're going to call those back. But the amount of numbers that we're talking about are very few.
But more jobs are on the way. Alstom Thunder Bay is gearing up to produce 60 streetcars for the TTC. That work is expected to begin in the first half of 2022. In the meantime, the company is bidding on a job to refurbish 212 GO trains.
Even with that bid, we will not get full employment in the plant. We need probably another subway car contract, which we haven't built for some time now. And hopefully we can get it again where we're building subway cars, GO trains and streetcars all at the same time.
It's only a matter of weeks until the company will know if they were successful in their bid on the refurbishment work. It's also possible the work will be split between here and North Bay's plant. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Waterfront development and improving traffic flow are among the topics that will be debated by Thunder Bay City Council tonight. Council members will vote on whether to commit money to synchronized traffic lights throughout the city. They'll also be deciding whether or not to reestablish a waterfront development committee. Ryan Benazzo has more.
Mayor Bill Morrow has put forward a motion to formalize a plan to upgrade Thunder Bay's traffic system over the next 4 years, synchronizing traffic lights along many of the main corridors. When City Council rejected a plan to install red light cameras last month, a number of councillors expressed their belief that this was the better way to improve driver behavior. Engineering and Operations Director Kayla Dixon explains what traffic light synchronization will mean for motorists.
If you're traveling on Arthur Street and you hit a green light, you will have, it will be timed so that likely you will hit the next green light, the next green light, the next green light, as long as you are traveling the speed limit and, there aren't other, priority vehicles. For example, you don't have a fire truck that needs to cross at James Street.
The work was identified as a priority back in 2018. It came with a $4 million price tag at that time. It's unclear how much the cost has increased since. Also on Monday, Red River Ward Councillor Brian McKinnon has put forward a motion to re-establish the Waterfront Development Committee, which was dissolved in 2018 after 12 years in operation. The new committee would help facilitate future development along the waterfront and require an estimated annual budget of $150,000. Finally, Nebing's Cody Fraser is asking the city to make an in-kind donation of up to $30,000 to the Wake the Giant Music Festival. The concert is scheduled to return this September. Fraser is asking for the city to donate a stage, lighting, speakers, and barricades, and pay to put up promotional pennants in the North Core. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
More city recreational facilities have opened their doors as Step 3 of Ontario's reopening plan continues across Thunder Bay. If you're looking to beat the heat, Volunteer Pool is one of the activities that residents can once again enjoy indoors. Between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, visitors can take part in activities such as links, lessons, and lifeguard programs. The Canada Games Complex will reopen next week, while Churchill Pool will remain closed until October. Sean Bodkin, the supervisor of Community Aquatics, says they are thrilled to welcome people back.
I think it's great news to the community. I'm really excited to have the doors open again. Volunteer Pool was probably the longest closed, so it's good to see it opened up again. The outdoor pools seem to be very popular this summer, so it's good to see kids enjoying themselves at the beaches, at the pools.
Meanwhile, Current River Arena is the first city-run rink to open up to the community for anyone looking to get summer ice time. The arena is also undergoing some upgrades as they begin allowing the public inside. 4 other city arenas will open their doors in September. And traffic is now being fully detoured around a section of Water Street as crews with Tom Jones Construction get ready to lift the Marina Park pedestrian overpass back into place. The road closure between Red River Road and Van Norman Street is expected to last for about 3 weeks. The larger section of the overpass is scheduled to be hoisted by cranes July 27th, with the smaller section going up August 5th. The sections will also undergo glass installation and concrete decks have to be poured. Motorists are being asked to drive with caution in the area, follow the detour signs, and be mindful of workers near the roadway. The overpass was originally scheduled to be back in place before the winter of 2020, but corrosion on the bridge's steel structure was worse than expected and delayed the restoration project. The reopening date is now tentatively set for August the 9th.
Well, Fiona, it was another very hot day here in Thunder.